I was 14 at the time. It was an ordinary day. It was a boring Sunday. I had no schoolwork to do or anything. Man, was I bored. So, I decided to go on Instagram for some entertainment. I was scrolling through some pictures and videos. Then all of a sudden, I get a DM. I say, maybe it's someone I know. I go to the DM to check it out, and it's from an older man who I have never seen before. He must have been in his 50s at least. He said that he was looking for his sugar baby. I just responded and told him to leave me alone and that I wasn't interested. When I think about it, I probably should have just blocked him. But then I told him that he was a creep and that I was only 14 years old. Thinking that was the end of it, he responds back to me saying that age is just a number and that he wants to come see me. I told him no, and for him to leave me alone. And I regret it to this day for saying this. But I told him, you don't even know where I live. Then he responds to me with my address and said he is coming to me now. I'm not gonna lie, that scared me a lot because that was actually my real address. I was a little freaked out, but I tried ignoring it and just continuing my day like nothing happened. The next day came and I left for school in the morning. I walked to school. It's about a 15-minute walk. Both my parents couldn't pick me up because they both work in the early morning. As I'm walking to school, I see a car behind me. It felt a little weird as if it was following me, so I ran down a random street to see if the car was actually still following me. And to my surprise, it was. As I was running down the street, I was out of breath and slowed down. The car pulled up to me, and it was the same man I saw on Instagram. I was in shock, and I didn't know what to do, but froze. The man said, "Come in the car, kid. I have some candy for you." I said no thanks, and to leave me alone. I started walking away. He didn't like that, so he followed me from inside the car, then pulled up in front of me, got out of the car, then grabbed me. I was fighting, but he was too strong. He was pulling me to his car, then another car beeps the horn and says, "I'm calling the police." The man then lets go of me, goes back to his car, and drives away. The person from the other car called my parents, and I took the rest of the day off of school to calm down and relax. Missing school that day was the last thing on my mind. It's now 4 years later, and I haven't ever seen the man. I always thought about what would have happened to me if it wasn't for the other car that day. Would I still be alive? I never walked to school since. All I know is I'm lucky to still be alive, and I take every day as it's my last because you never know what could happen.
Sharon was walking down the street, sure that someone was following her. She didn't dare look behind, as she would rather just walk on and hopefully get to somewhere where there were people around, other than turn around and have someone attack her. It was getting dark, and she saw a train station across the road, so she walked across to it. When she got into the station, thankfully there were other people in the platform, but strangely, she didn't feel any bit safer. She thought about getting on a train, but decided to just wait by a group of people first to gather herself. She assumed it was just her paranoia, but there was something bothering her that she didn't know what it was. People were acting strange, and she had noticed there were police around. She had wondered why there was no train, as she was standing there for a few minutes now. There were lots of people looking down in the track, across a tape that said "Police line, do not cross." She didn't realise sooner because she seemed to be in a daze, wondering why she was feeling so strange. She wondered what all the people were looking at, and when she walked over and looked down, she screamed with horror as she looked down at herself, dead on the train line. She was screaming and screaming, but no one seemed to take any notice of her. She had then noticed someone had made eye contact with her, and they seemed to notice her. They walked over to her and said, "Did you just realize you're like me, one of the dead?" She spoke on. "Don't worry, it gets better. I watch the news to see where there are local deaths. That way at least you could talk to someone." Sharon froze, taking in the words that the girl was telling her, realizing she was dead. When Sarah was small, she used to always be afraid of the dark. She hated the dark even more now, and she hated her own shadow. It started when she was 7 years old. Her and her twin sister were in their room, and they borrowed a horror book from their mom. Sarah was spooking her twin sister Katie out by pretending there was shadows going to get her, and they were on the wall. Sarah realized that she could make shadows on the wall and spooked Katie out every time she turned around. Suddenly something fell, and Katie got such a fright she backed back and fell off her bunk bed and out the top story window and was killed instantly. 15 years later, Sarah still gets flashbacks every time she sees her own shadow. She went to counselling and everything over it. She knew she had to get rid of her fear. She knew it was awful what happened, but she knew she had to finally put it behind her. She wasn't going to look at her shadow anymore. What Sarah couldn't see, as she was walking down the street, is her own shadow take out a knife. Suddenly she heard a voice saying, "Don't you think you can outrun your shadow?" Sarah was certain she had shook off her obsession of her shadow, but turned around because she knew that the voice was not in her head. She froze in horror because in all the years she just saw her shadow, not her shadow moving differently than her, and definitely not her shadow holding a knife. Suddenly the shadow lunged the knife into her and walked into her, then healed instantly and walked down the street. Katie was practicing walking down the street. "Hi, my name is Sarah." Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content.